The painting vanished in front of hundreds of people, and no one saw it happen. In Paris's oldest museum, the frame of a priceless painting hangs completely empty on the wall. Canvas gone, nothing left but hollow wood. People fill every corner of the hall. Lights blaze at full intensity, and yet the frame holds nothing. On the cold marble floor below, a waiter lies unconscious. His closed fist clutches a small, torn piece of canvas. Doors are sealed. Guards stand at every post. The painting has left no trace. This theft happened in plain sight, and no one saw a thing. Nora Cross steps into the museum's grand hall. Her footsteps are measured, deliberate. She moves slowly toward the empty frame hanging on the wall, like a wound left behind by something that was once there. Nora stops just inches from the frame. She tilts her head slightly and studies the gap between the wall and the frame's edge. Her gaze drops to the floor, to the space where the waiter was found, now just a quiet, empty outline. Nora crouches down and examines the faint impression left on the floor where the waiter's body had fallen. The hall's high ceiling, the thick pillars, all of it sits in an unusual silence right now. Nora straightens up and looks across the hall at the digital locks sealing every exit. No override, no error. Her attention shifts to the security panel. Lights are green, no forced entry on record. Nora stands at the center of the hall and takes in the full room, slow, methodical, nothing skipped. She walks across the museum's ancient stone floor, mentally noting every path someone could have taken. Behind each pillar, a shadow, but nowhere, not a single spot where someone could have stayed hidden. Nora's gaze stops on the large ventilation grill mounted in the far corner of the hall. She walks toward it and measures the grill's size with her eyes, then gives the faintest shake of her head. Nora draws a slow, deep breath. Eyes close for a moment, then open. One question turns over in her mind. If the doors were sealed, how did the painting get out? Nora rests her finger on the edge of the frame, a light touch, the way someone checks a pulse. She examines the screws and hooks fixed to the wall. No sign of force, no scratch, no broken piece. The first real question has fully taken shape in Nora's mind. Did this theft actually happen at the exact moment the hall lights dimmed? Nora leans over her tablet. The digital lock data scrolls across the screen, frame by frame. In the last 2 hours, not a single emergency exit alarm was triggered, not one record. The conclusion is clear. Whoever took the painting is still inside this building. Nora moves back to the empty frame and examines all 4 corners with careful precision. The canvas cutting marks are clean, a sharp blade, a steady hand. Nora crouches. A small fleck of paint is wedged underneath the frame's lower edge. The strange part, in this room this crowded, this bright, how did no one hear a blade? Nora steps back and mentally measures the distance between where the waiter fell and the frame. Roughly 10 feet, no more, no less. The angle at which the waiter fell, Nora pauses on this. He fell perfectly straight, no stumble, as though he fainted, not pushed. Nora bends her knees and lowers herself to the floor, right at the spot where the waiter's head had landed. She reads the floor with her eyes, inch by inch. No bloodstain. Nora runs the calculation in her head. If someone had shoved him, the body would have twisted, but this, he didn't fall, he was lowered, a controlled collapse. Nora arises and shifts her attention to the waiter's background. The physical evidence is now in direct conflict with the witness account, and that contradiction is the first real crack in this case.
The museum's organizer, Monsieur Dupont, approaches Nora.
quick steps, visible strain on his face. Nora turns toward him, her eyes settle on his face and begin reading. DuPont's hands are trembling. He keeps reaching for his handkerchief, crumpled, already damp. Nora asks him who was the last person to see the painting before the gala began. DuPont says the guards checked, everything was fine. Nora's eyes briefly shift to the guard standing some distance away, then back to DuPont. DuPont adds the painting's insurance value is extremely high. Two words flash in Nora's mind: insurance fraud. She asks him directly, was the museum facing financial trouble? DuPont deflects the question entirely, gestures toward the guests as if something else needs more urgent attention. Nora maps DuPont's movements in her mind, every place he went, every route he took. His path always ran through the security office, always. Nora senses it. There are time gaps in DuPont's account. He says he arrived in the hall 10 minutes ago. But Nora's tablet says something different. His access card was swiped 15 minutes ago. Nora files that away, nothing revealed yet. The pressure on DuPont is building, and he can feel it. Nora's read, DuPont's fear is real, but the reason isn't the theft, something else is scaring him. She asks his permission to inspect the ventilation grills more closely. DuPont nods silently, no words, just a tired gesture. Nora enters the museum's ventilation control room. Cold air, tangled pipes, a mechanical stillness. She looks at the large ducts spreading through the building like a system of veins. Nora steps close to the opening of one pipe and examines its mouth carefully. No scratches, no marks, surface untouched. She shines her flashlight inside the pipe. Inside, a thick layer of dust has settled, completely undisturbed, as though nothing has passed through in months. The conclusion is clear. Nothing was moved through here. No object, no person. Nora returns to the hall. Her gaze lifts upward to the large chandelier lights. She inspects the ropes and rigging that run up to the ceiling. No opening in the ceiling wide enough to pass a canvas through. Nora stands at the center of the hall again and looks in every direction, slow, systematic. The space feels completely sealed. No exit presents itself. A quiet realization begins forming in Nora. Maybe this theft wasn't physical at all. Her eyes fall to the marks on the floor, tracks left by the equipment used to clean the large frames. Nora's gaze stops on an old trolley parked in the corner of the hall. She walks toward it and pulls the cloth draped over it to one side. The trolley is empty, but its wheel carries a thin smear of fresh grease, recent, very recent. Someone used this trolley tonight, but wheeling a painting out on a trolley was impossible. Guards control every door. The guard leads Nora to the waiter's locker room, walking with the easy confidence of someone who thinks he knows the answer. Nora opens the waiter's locker. Inside, an old uniform, a lunchbox, and silence. Nora slides her hand into the back panel of the uniform, reaching deep, feeling for anything. Her fingers find a small hidden compartment, concealed, but there. She opens it. Inside, an old blade. Beside the blade, a neat stack of euro notes and a handwritten note. The guard speaks immediately. "Didn't I say it? The waiter is the thief." Nora picks up the blade and holds its edge to the light. The blade is brand new. It gleams, no sign of use. Nora reads the note. The painting's name is written on it. "We don't need to look any further," the guard says, settled, certain. Nora says nothing. Her eyes are on the edge of the locker. The marks where the blade was placed are too fresh, as though someone set it just moments ago. Nora pulls up the waiter's profile again on her tablet. 10 years of service, no complaints, a clean record. One thought settles in Nora's mind. This evidence was served up too easily. She asks the guard, who has access to this locker? The guard says only the waiter and the manager. Nora runs her fingers slowly along the locker handle, deliberate, fully focused. The handle carries the same grease that was on the trolley wheel in the hall, same color, same texture.
That means whoever pushed the trolley also came through this locker room. Now, Nora looks carefully at the guard's hands, checking whether they carry any trace of grease as well. The guard is wearing gloves, both hands fully covered. Nora understands now the waiter is being framed. She tells the guard we should wait for the waiter to regain consciousness. The guard shifts slightly, a small involuntary tell he couldn't quite suppress. Nora steps out of the locker room and studies the security cameras mounted along the hallway ceiling. The camera just outside the locker room is dead, blank screen, no signal. Nora asks the guard, how long has this camera been down? The guard says, since evening, straight, without a pause. Nora catches the lie. The technician confirmed all cameras were fully operational. The certainty has shifted away from the guard towards something deeper. Nora turns and heads directly toward the security room. She doesn't need live footage anymore. She needs the metadata.
Nora enters the security room and opens the system's deep logs. She scrubs through the recorded footage, frame by frame, second by second. Suddenly, Nora's finger stops on the screen. "Look at this," she says to the technician, quiet but certain. In one corner of the screen, a pillar casts its shadow across the floor. People are moving. Their shadows shift and stretch with them. But that specific pillar's shadow has not moved in 5 full minutes, not a single pixel. Nora reads it immediately. Digital masking. Someone placed a static image, a frozen photograph, directly over the live feed. Nora removes the loop. The moment it lifts, the scene on the screen changes in a single frame. The frame reads as empty now, but the timestamp of the theft has shifted. Nora looks at when the loop was activated. It started 10 minutes before the gala began. Nora goes further back in the footage. She wants to see who was near the frame during those 10 minutes. A tall shadow moves toward the frame, slow, purposeful. The figure is wearing a guard's uniform. Nora asks the technician, "Is there any other digital loop active in the system?" The technician says no. The pattern is now fully visible to Nora. The theft did not happen during the gala. It happened while everyone was outside, waiting in the queue. What the guests stood before and admired during the gala, that was never the real painting. Nora turns her attention back to the torn piece of canvas. If the painting was already gone by then, what exactly did the waiter tear? Nora pulls up another layer of logs. A new contradiction has surfaced. Nora picks up the canvas fragment recovered from the waiter's hand. She turns it over slowly in her palm. She holds it up against the light. The original painting was from the 18th century. The canvas should be thick, rough, saturated with centuries of age. But this piece? It's soft. It has a sheen. It feels new. Nora presses her fingertip to the paint and drags it lightly across the surface. The paint smears, faint, slow, unmistakable. Wet paint, Nora says quietly, to no one, to herself. 200-year-old paint cannot be wet. This is a cheap forgery. Nora pauses for a moment, then she reassembles the full picture, piece by piece. The waiter's hand held a piece of the fake painting, which means what hung in the frame during the gala was a replica, not the original. And that replica was torn in plain view of everyone to make it appear the theft happened then, in that moment. Nora calls DuPont over. She asks him directly about the paint. DuPont plays ignorant, shoulders dropped, eyes elsewhere. Nora tells him the real painting was already gone before the gala started. The color drains from DuPont's face. Nora walks toward the guard who showed her the locker room. The guard steps back, one small, instinctive step. "Take off your gloves," Nora says. The guard refuses. It's security protocol. Nora's eyes drop to the holster on his belt. Grease is seeping from it, the same grease that was on the trolley, same color, same consistency. Nora now understands the full mechanism. The painting never left the building. Moving a canvas that large out of here carried too much risk, too many ways to get caught.
so it was hidden right here, somewhere no one would think to look. Nora's gaze moves across the other large paintings hanging in the hall, scanning each one. The revision is nearly over. The truth is close. Nora stands at the center of the hall, upright, still. Then she speaks. The real painting never went anywhere. The entire room goes quiet, as though the words stopped the air itself. Nora walks directly toward the guard, steady steps, eyes fixed. You removed the real painting before the gala started. The guard tries to speak. Nora doesn't let him. You activated the loop so the camera couldn't see you. Nora raises her hand toward the old trolley. You placed the real painting on the trolley and slid it behind another large painting already hanging in this hall. Nora walks toward an unremarkable, overlooked painting on the wall. This frame is larger than the stolen painting. Nora pulls gently at the frame's edge. From behind the frame, the edge of the real canvas comes into view, rolled tight, raw, alive. Then you placed a cheap replica into the empty frame. Nora looks at the guard, doesn't blink. When the lights dimmed during the gala, you tore the replica. The waiter saw you, so you knocked him unconscious. You put the torn piece in his hand so everyone would believe the theft happened at that moment. Nora grabs the guard's hand and pulls off his glove. Small cuts mark his hands, blade wounds, the kind left when you tear canvas in a hurry. Nora reaches to his belt and pulls out the blade. This is the blade you used to cut the real painting from its frame. The guard makes a break for it. Other guards move in and stop him. Nora looks at DuPont. DuPont still stands there frozen, as though he still can't accept what he's hearing. He didn't do this alone, Nora says. Nora points to DuPont's assistant, who is quietly trying to disappear into a corner. The assistant held the control for the digital loop. The two of them ran this together with a plan to move the painting out later. The forensic team carefully extracts the real painting from behind the frame, intact. The waiter is coming around. He looks at the guard and recognizes him. The truth is fully exposed.
Now we walk through the entire sequence again, this time straight, with nothing hidden. 6 p.m., the museum was empty. The guard activated the security loop. He cut the real painting from its frame with a blade. No rush, no panic. 6:15 p.m., he slid the real painting behind a larger frame already hanging on a different wall of the hall. 6:30 p.m., a cheap replica was mounted into the now empty frame. The gala began. Guests stood before the replica and called it beautiful. 9 p.m., right on schedule, the lights dimmed. The guard used the darkness and tore the replica apart, straight down the middle. Julian, the waiter, was passing through. He saw the guard. The guard struck Julian across the head. Julian went down. A piece of the torn replica was pressed into Julian's hand. Then the guard raised the alarm himself. The painting's been stolen. The planted evidence went into Julian's locker, not the guard's, Julian's. But one thing was forgotten. The grease was never wiped clean. And in the digital loop, a shadow stood frozen where no shadow should stay still. Nora caught both of those things. The real painting is now back where it belongs. The guard and the assistant are being escorted out by police. The museum's doors have been sealed again. This time, the investigation is complete. Physical reality beat the digital lie. The next morning, Director Miller sits at his desk in Geneva, quiet light, a cup of cold tea. He signs the last line of Nora's report and closes the file. Museums are built to keep secrets, Miller says, but secrets have a way of leaking. Nora descends the tall stone steps of the Paris Museum. Her face carries a calm, tired but honest. The first light of morning falls across the museum's grand doors.
everything has gone quiet again, exactly as it was before.